So the session that I helped facilitate at this Kudwa was about peer learning. So it was about how teachers can learn from and with their colleagues to update their skills and tackle such challenges as making their students learn about global competencies. And I think if there was one thing that was really clear and that came out during the discussions in the session is that we often have this idea of teaching as a very isolated profession. But if there's one thing that we learned was that doesn't have to be the case. And I think we saw many great examples of how peer learning can help teachers to continue updating their knowledge. We've heard examples from the UAE, local examples of teachers using all sorts of digital tools and platforms to share materials and skills with their colleagues across the Emirate and even beyond. We've heard examples from Spain of teachers getting together and collectively organizing peer observation sessions. We've heard examples from Ghana where mathematics teachers got together from the entire region to tackle the challenges that they all face together. So it's really inspiring, and I think when it comes to peer learning, the teachers really demonstrated the power of it. So perhaps if we're looking at global competencies, right? So the overarching topic of this KUA was global competencies, and I think it's there couldn't have been a better topic to discuss today, given its relevance. We live in a world that's increasingly interconnected, and there's a collective responsibility, I think, for school systems, for school teachers, for principals, for policymakers and parents to prepare our students to become, not bystanders in this increasingly interconnected world, but really become agents for change and for changing into the better. So this concept of global competencies that the OECD and the Asia Society have developed a framework for. It's about recognizing the global dimension of local issues. It's about understanding and examining the local impact of global issues, the big challenges that we face, from migration to climate change. It's about recognizing, understanding and appreciating other perspectives on issues and to engage in effective cross-cultural communication. All those things will be increasingly important for students to learn and to know about. And lastly, of course, and perhaps most importantly, teaching students how to take action to promote well-being and a sustainable living. And all of this creates new challenges for teachers, I believe, because teaching global competencies, it's not about a set of, there's a small component of it that's about knowledge, but really a lot of it is about attitudes, about values, about skills. So I think it's incredibly exciting that we're all in this process of trying to figure out how to address this challenge, how to come up with new pedagogical approaches that allow students to cultivate this curiosity, to open their minds, to become intellectually courageous, and also to open their heart. And when we're thinking about compassion, for example. So I think it's a great challenge. But if anything, the teachers at this forum those past few days have demonstrated their commitment to tackling it together. Yes, I think if there was one idea that really struck with me is that the role of teachers, when we're thinking about the need to cultivate global competencies in students, the role of teachers will really have to change quite fundamentally, because it's no longer about instructing students as passive recipients of knowledge. I think teaching global competencies requires much more active and involved forms of learning. So the role of the teacher, I believe, will become much more that of a guide to inspire curiosity in students and to guide them to the kinds of active experiences that allow them to recognize the power of global knowledge. So it's about, this can be about creating discussions where students feel comfortable in sharing their views, but it's also a lot about project-based learning. And none of these are things that all teachers in a system will have learned in their initial teacher education. So I think what's really important is that this new role of teacher, it will have to involve and require lifelong learning, not only from teachers, but also from their students. So how teachers can take part in this collective endeavor of experimenting, of innovating, I think will be really important for education systems to address. So I think that was one highlight and one big takeaway for me from the last 2 days. If there's one thing that we at the OECD have learned, is that the quality of a school system can never exceed the quality of its teachers, right? So I think if there was one message that I want to share with teachers in the UAE, but really with teachers all over the world, is that they are and they really must be at the heart of the quality of an education system, and they will be absolutely essential in the further improvement of the UAE's education system.